Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and welcome here to USA Global TV and Radio, where it's our delight to spend time with you and share inspiring stories and education. So today's show is the Authentic Achievement Show, which is a platform that we set up 2 or 3 years ago to help bring inspiration and education and invite more people to share their stories. And today is no exception. I'm delighted that I will be joined shortly by Dima Ghawi. Dima is Middle Eastern in her genes, American in her heart, and a global citizen in her spirit. She ignites the untapped potential in individuals across the globe, empowering them to shatter limitations and become courageous, purpose-driven leaders. Her own journey is one of escaping confinement, crossing continents, and transforming her life's purpose. Harnessing the power of her story, Dima is committed to inspiring individuals to attain personal and professional growth. Her life mission is to give voice to those that are excluded within corporate cultures and their communities. And through her professional and personal experiences, she inspires, educates, and empowers everyone who crosses her path. And I've had the delight to chat with Dima before, so I know that this is going to be another fascinating conversation. So Dima, welcome.
Hi, KIM-ADELE. It is wonderful to be talking with you again.
Oh, I know. I'm so looking forward to this because when we had you on the show on my platform, we ran out of time, didn't we? Because there's so much that you have experienced and therefore been able to take that lived experience and help people to learn from it without having to live the experience themselves. But could you bring that journey to life a little bit for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it in the intro. I'm originally Middle Eastern. I was born in Turkey and raised in Jordan. And when I was a little girl, 5-year-old, I was with my grandmother in her kitchen, and she was arranging flowers in a glass vase. Usually she's so much fun and so much energy, but not that day. She held the vase and she told me, "Do you see this perfect glass vase? A girl is just like it. If it gets cracked for any reason, you can never fix it. You can never glue it back. No one would want it. And that's the one we throw in the trash." So as a 5-year-old, I was taught early on to be the expectation of my community, to be perfect, to follow, to obey, not to have my own identity, not to challenge the norm, because if I do, that would be perceived that is a crack in the vase, that I don't belong. And as a result, I'm going to be excluded, and beyond that, thrown in the trash.
Wow. I mean, I know you've told me that story before, and it still breaks my heart now when I think about you were only a few years younger than my little girl, and I can't imagine saying something like that to her. And yet it doesn't surprise me. I was brought up in the era of be seen and not heard. I failed dismally at that, team, as we chatted about last time. That wasn't one of the things that I could say I succeeded at, but almost that expectation of only perfect was good enough.
Yeah.
And actually, we're perfectly imperfect, aren't we? It's like that is our superpower, our own imperfection. And yet we set ourselves up, or we set our children up to chase that impossible dream that you've got to be perfect at everything. And we can't achieve that, can we? We can't achieve perfection.
Yeah. And I believe this is part of our purpose in life, every single human on this earth, to challenge these old programmings and to discover our uniqueness and to appreciate our uniqueness. I believe that my grandmother was trying to protect me. So she wasn't trying to be the bad person, the evil character. No, she was trying to truly protect me because she knows what this world expects of us, not just in the Middle East, everywhere around the world. But imagine how many messages we're passing from one generation to the next that are not serving us. And they're protecting us, but they're not serving us. And imagine how many people feel excluded every single day just because they're trying to think differently or be different. And now I believe that transformation as humanity that we're going through right now is to wake our minds and open our eyes related to all of this. So it is great to be different. It's great to be not perfect. It is how can we encourage that as an individual for our lives, but also to be ally and to support others on their journey as well.
I love that. And I think you're right. We have so many sayings that were meant to protect us, but actually you're right, they don't serve us,
Yeah.
I grew up with the sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And yet we now know how much what we say about people, including ourselves, how much damage that really does do.
Yeah.
And so it is, how do we change the narrative on those things that aren't serving us? And I saw, I think it was on Instagram the other day, it was a picture of this little kid, and it was like, you've got to embrace your inner weirdo. Because that is I was like, that really resonated with me. I was like, because we are each uniquely us, and once you realize that that's okay, and you can embrace that, and you can bring it out. And I know with my own little girl, I remember she always been such a big, bold character, and she used to strut along she was age 2 at the time, and she used to walk along and she'd wave at people like a bit of the Queen's wave, bless her. And I remember a voice in my head going, people will think she's pretentious. I should say something. And I was like, no, because she's just happy to be there. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let her be her, and see how she shines in the world. And she was once in this cafeteria, and she announced, apparently, that nursery had taken her. She announced to everybody she was going to butter her own toast, and if anyone wanted to watch, they could too. I was like, I love that actually that she's got the confidence to be her. And that's what I love about the work you're doing. It's helping people have the confidence to be them, wholly them, however they feel in the world, however they want to show up and make that difference. It's finding the courage to be the one that dances first. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think it was a YouTube clip where they're watching a concert, and this one person gets up and dances on their own, and it starts off and everyone's like, but very quickly you started to see more people joined, and in the end so many people had joined that the ones sitting down and not taking part looked weirder than the one that danced on their own. And I guess for me that really resonated on that part that goes, actually it takes courage, doesn't it, to be the one that gets up and dances when nobody else is, that goes, this is how I feel and this is where I'm going.
It's the power to initiate instead of conform. And that is the thing. And so imagine how many people they were in that area, and they wish they could dance, but they weren't because nobody else was dancing and they didn't want to appear like the weirdos. So what can we do to encourage people to initiate instead to conform? But imagine how we bring this to work as well. So a lot of the stories we're discussing right now, with your daughter's story, with my grandmother's story, they are at an individual level, but there's no separation between our personal life and business. So we're bringing all of these old programmings into work. So how can we be creative? How can we be happy about what we do? How can we speak up in meetings if there's this voice in our head that has been programmed early on in our lives that don't be weird, don't be different, you have to be perfect, otherwise you're going to be thrown away. So, and again, like, this is so important for us as humanity right now to reflect about all of this and figure out how are we going to do it differently for our personal life, but also what can we do differently for the next generation. How many people are coming to work hiding a piece of themselves, and we don't want that. I remember one time I met a friend, his name is Mike. And Mike was telling me about his nephew. At that time, his nephew, his name is Jeff, was 13 years old. And Mike was observing that Jeff, the nephew, was wearing a heavy winter jacket all year long. And they live in Louisiana. So if anyone has been to Louisiana in the US, it is so hot and so humid in the summer. It's unbelievable. And this young man was wearing a heavy winter jacket in the summer. So the uncle was talking to him one day, and he was expressing how he has been gaining a lot of weight and he doesn't know what to do with himself. And he told Jeff, he said, how about we work out together? Because he saw that Jeff was gaining a lot of weight as well. He said, how can we work out together and encourage each other? So the nephew responded immediately, and he said, I know how you feel that you're not comfortable with your body. He was telling that to the uncle. He said, I've been gaining weight too. And every time I go to school, my classmates are making fun of me. I can hear them laughing behind my back. So I wear this jacket. And this jacket, I'm hoping it's going to hide my body weight so they would not see me and not laugh at me. So the uncle was heartbroken to hear that Jeff was experiencing that, hiding a piece of himself. So how many people right now are coming to work wearing an invisible, heavy winter jacket and hiding a piece of themselves? Maybe because of their gender, their ethnicity, their neurodiversity. Maybe it's the way they think. And what our goal is to help create this safe work environment where they feel more comfortable to take off this horrible invisible jacket, to challenge the norm, and to be creative, to come up with new ideas. That's how we can be more competitive and do better as organizations.
Oh, I love that. What a great story. And I think we do, don't we? We do. I know certainly when I was in corporate life, I tried to conform to what I thought was expected, what I thought was the norm. I mean, literally my wardrobe everything was black with the occasional bit of navy blown in for color, just to stick it out there. And I desperately tried to be this well pulled together corporate being. And yet that's not who I was.
Yeah.
Inside, that's not who I was. I mean, I spent most of my life like a hyperactive puppy dog, and like wanting to bandy around. But it took a lot of soul searching and courage to finally show that version of myself, and realize that didn't mean I couldn't be good at my job. I could be good at my job and be myself. They were, but I remember talking to a lady once, a girl who worked for me, and she'd gone on an external course to become a coach, which I'd organised for her because I thought it would really help. And she shared with me her own book. She didn't have to share it with me. She shared with me her own book. And in it, they'd done a kind of survey to find out a bit more about you, like a bit of a self-assessment piece in it. And I remember when she shared it with me being slightly heartbroken for her, because it was her own book. Right? So she didn't have to share. But all the things that she deemed would not be professional, she'd crossed out and gone, no. So one of them was, you like to have fun. And because she thought that didn't come across as professional, she crossed it out and went, no, I take work seriously. And it's like, you can take work seriously and still want to have fun. They're not mutually exclusive. But it really struck me, the culture that we had at the time was around anything that was deemed to be not professional was to be frowned upon, was to be, well, no, I don't like any of those things. It's like, but we do. We want to have fun, don't we? We don't want work. work can be tough at times. If you can have a little bit of fun along the way, it helps you to gain the energy, doesn't it, to deal with the challenges that sometimes come from it. But how do you, or how did you make that first step to not conforming, to becoming confident enough to be you?
So that took 50 years. um, to me, what really happened was not intentional. So it's not that I had a process in my head and I followed. I just started to question the norm. I started to question everything, because what happened was I went into depression. My body, I was unhappy about the experience that I was living, because what part of the story, what happened was that I got married very young. We moved together to San Diego, California from Jordan. And that marriage turned out to be abusive. But I could not do or say anything, because otherwise it would be considered a crack in the vase. So I lived in that marriage and I was absolutely miserable. And that's when I got into depression. I believe it was the best thing ever, because our body knows, our spirit knows what is the right thing for us. So while we're living in the noise that's telling us we need to act a certain way or look a certain way, speak a certain way, our spirit knows what is the right thing for us. And what my spirit did is it put me in depression. And that's when I started to question all of these stories, whether it is the story of the vase or some other stories I was taught. And I realized that that is not the life I wanted. That life was not serving me. These stories did not help me to be joyful and happy, and even to be a good spouse in that marriage. Because if I'm depressed all the time, how am I going to be contributing to this marriage? And after a few years, I ended up escaping. And that's when the world totally got shattered. So when my grandmother said that a crack means that people would throw me in the trash because I'm not good enough, and that's what happened. My community in Jordan, all of them disowned me. And one decided to have me killed. And this person is my father. Because in my small Catholic community, if a woman does anything that is not accepted by the father, by the uncle, by the brother, they kill her, and they call it honor killing. And it's still happening right now. Of course, there's no honor in this, but it also shows the consequences. So we tell people, believe in yourself, take risk. But what we really need to think about as society, as an organization, as a family, what are the consequences that we're putting that are stopping people from taking these actions? So I have been dealing with death threats now for the last 24 years. Thank goodness, the only reason I'm alive is because I'm in the US. My father is in Jordan. He doesn't know how to speak English. And I believe I was the only one in the world that was happy during COVID when they shut down the airports, because I felt so safe. I felt that he wouldn't be able to come and get me. But so that's what happened. It is depression, and depression that led me to question the norm. And then questioning the norm made me realize that that is not the life that I wanted. Maybe it fit generations ago, but it just didn't fit in my life. And then just dealing with these consequences, opening up myself to receiving help from people around me. We're going through healing, even going through forgiveness, which I'm still working on right now, because it's not easy feeling that I am being rejected by my entire community. It's not easy feeling that my father, my own father, who's supposed to protect me, is the one who is trying to hurt me because I'm not good enough in his eyes. So going through all of that, and a lot of people that I work with, whether it is coaching or through workshops, similar messages keep coming up. So maybe they were not taught about the story of the vase, that they have to keep keep it perfect, but they tell me about their fears of making mistakes, their worries of being judged, and their aspiration to be perfect. They're afraid to take risks. They're afraid of speaking up. They're afraid of living the life that they want and that they deserve because of these invisible vases or stories that we have been passing along from one generation to the other. And I have to mention something. Aside from my story and what I'm experiencing, I love traditions. I think traditions are beautiful. So when we think about the traditions of weddings or the food that different cultures have and the music and the dance, it is so beautiful. And I think right now, as humanity, we need to look at these traditions that we have been passing and the stories and realize what are serving us, what is going to continue to help us be better as humanity. And those are the ones we pass forward: the dance, the music, the food, all of these beautiful things, but also reflect about what are the ones that are not serving us. What are the ones that create fear, that create sense of lack? And what do we need to do to stop them? Stop them from passing forward. So as if we become a filter, we identify the things that serve us and we pass them forward, and we identify the things that don't fit anymore and they have been hurting for a long time, and we stop them, intentionally stop them as society, but also as organizations. Because just like a toxic culture kills in society, toxic culture and the mentality would have killed me, but also toxic cultures in organizations kill too. Maybe they're not killing the physical body, but they're killing the spirit. They're killing creativity. And that's why we need to go through this filter. And that's what I have been reflecting and working on a lot recently.
Wow. I mean, what a journey. And as you say, with all choices come consequences, and some of those consequences are dire. And I guess, in a very different way, definitely not in a death threat way. But one of the things that I've spotted for people, and for myself, this were true as well. Where I was had to become so painful that the risk didn't seem that great. In fact, it was the greater risk was not moving, was staying where I was. And I imagine, particularly with such dire consequences, it must have been really bad where you were for you to take the risk.
Yeah.
And do you find that with the people that you work with, sometimes it's got to have got, they say you've got to have a burning platform, haven't you? It's got to be where you are now is that hot and uncomfortable that you have no choice but to make a move, whatever that move is. Would you say that resonates with the people that you work with?
Yes. And I'm so glad you mentioned a lot of things. So when you said you have no choice, I usually call this the choiceless choice. You have no choice but to take action. You have no choice but to quit that bad job in the toxic environment. You have no choice but to, you have to take this action, and it's part of survival. So yes, I see that a lot with my clients, and I also see it with me as I continue to evolve. If we are comfortable and things are going our way, we're not going to take a risk. Why would we do that? Things are great, and we can just we're making good money. We are having a good job. But really, when things really get so bad and we're being challenged as an individual and as a spirit, that's when we're taking action. And that is when we need to truly stand by ourselves and be our own champion, because things may go in an opposite direction. Maybe things are not going to go our way, but what can we do to support ourselves through this journey in order to get ourselves to rise beyond these shards? So one of the things I do when I give keynotes about the breaking of the vase, because with my grandmother, she told me to keep it perfect, but I broke it. I broke it when I left my marriage. And I actually bring a vase with me on the stage and I shatter it. And the audience, they so much relate to that message because they get to see it visually. It's not the idea we're planting in our head. They see it on the stage shattered. And of course, it's a big deal to get to a point that gives us the courage to shatter the vase and to take action in our lives and to want to drive a positive change and challenge the norm. But really, the second half of that, so that's just 50%. The second half is rising from these shards, because we don't want to just stay broken. We don't want to look at ourselves and say, I shattered my life. It is, what can we do to create a better life for ourselves and to rise? And that is what I work with my clients a lot about. Because you may hear a lot of keynote speakers or motivational speakers say, feel the fear, take action, and it's good, but it's not enough. What we need to do is to help people continue to rise after they have the courage to shatter the vase, after they deal with difficult experiences and they find themselves totally broken on the floor, trying to have a sense of hope to just stand up or to just stop crying after hours and hours.
Wow, I love that. It always reminds me whenever we're chatting about the Japanese art of, is it kintsugi, where they believe that actually when something is broken, you can make it even more beautiful by joining it together with gold. And I've always quite liked that, because it's like, it is that whole, it's the what we learn from breaking the vase, from challenging the status quo, from having the courage to dance our own dance. And you're right, it's in those moments, and it definitely resonates with me about the crying all hours and the those, sometimes that's all, I remember a particularly tough time in my life that actually, success for me looked like adulting appropriately for 12 hours without anybody noticing that I was a blithering wreck underneath it. But you can't live in that space forever. I realized that actually at some point I had to not only metaphorically but physically get up off the floor and work out how do I move forward from this? What do I? And I think for me, one of the things that I feel is often life makes sense in the rearview mirror. It's when you look back and you go, right, that's why I had that experience, or that's why I did this, because I was supposed to learn this, whatever this is.
Yes.
That I was supposed to learn. And it's in those moments that you grow, isn't it? That you get you get a new perspective. Doesn't mean to say the world's always still going to go your way, but you start to realize that I always think we've survived 100% of the shots life's taken at us. That's a pretty good batting average to trust ourselves that we too can survive what happens next, and we can learn from it. But it's about changing that perspective, isn't it? And like you say, how we change that perspective, and not only in society as a whole, but in the societies we create in organizations, because we do create these mini societies, don't we, that where people want to belong, they want to feel like they are cared for and protected by that organization. And yet very often we've created a place where curiosity is banned. And we can't possibly be curious. Curiosity killed the cat, so let's not do that. And yet actually curiosity is what drives the innovation, isn't it? It's what drives the change. Once you start to get curious about, why do I think this? Why do you think that? What can you see that I can't see? Why am I so convinced that I'm right? And why am I so convinced that you're wrong? And as you can tell, I have these conversations in my head a lot. It just helps me to kind of try and be more open-minded to what am I going to learn if I'm willing to accept that I might not be right.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So what am I going to learn if I have to accept that I may not be right?
Yeah.
Wow. I love the dialogue in your head. You said you said so many amazing things, by the way, in just like in a short period of time. You talked earlier about also joy, and you talked about belonging. And
Yeah.
I wanna like spend some time for us to talk about it. In the past, we as society, we were taught in order to belong, which is a human need, you need to lose yourself. You need to follow, you need to obey, you need to be part of the tribe. And that is the older mindset, which is more of to belong with the bigger group. You cannot be an individual, you cannot be accepted for who you are. Now, as we are evolving as humans, we want to belong, but also we want to be accepted for who we are. We don't want to dissolve. And that is the mindset of the group mindset of conforming into now the individualistic mindset, where I want to belong, but I also want to preserve my own identity. I don't want to wear this horrible invisible jacket. So I love that you talked about belonging, and I love that you talked about creativity, because what I was listening to a spiritual teacher recently, and they were asking this spiritual teacher about purpose, and they said, "What is the purpose of like?" And a person was asking, "What should be my purpose?" And this spiritual teacher responded and said, "Your purpose is to create joy in your life, and your purpose is to look for ways to be more creative." How amazing is that? Because it is the absolute opposite of what we've been taught. In the past, we were taught that our purpose should be working hard, making more money, buying the big house, buying the fancy car. But with this spiritual teacher, what he was teaching us is follow your joy. Follow the things that allow you to be. Of course, when we're creative, we're joyful. Follow the things that allow you to be you. And when you are doing these things, you're going to discover your purpose in the process as well. Isn't that amazing? I love it. And I love, by the way, the shift that humanity is going through right now. I am just so excited about what's coming up. I'm excited to see more people awakening, more people challenging the norm of the old stories, more people want to create communities and be allies. So of course, in the process, sometimes we need to go low and before we go higher and higher. But I just have so much hope, like by our conversation and by everybody I'm working with, where I see them, they are questioning these horrible vases and they're working to continue to rise in the process.
Oh, I love that. There's so many things in there that you chatted about that I love, and it reminds me of a Pablo Picasso quote, which is I always butcher it. The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. I think here's that whole find your joy. Go where your joy is, because that's going to be where you are the most creative. You're the most vibrant version of yourself, and you can better serve the people around you. And I think it's like you were saying earlier about traditions can be brilliant and they can also be damaging. But it's how we evolve the traditions. So it's not revolution, it's evolution. It's like, how do we look at them and go, well, with what we know now, these bits we'd keep. I love the filter, these bits we'd keep, these servers, these bring us joy. These ones don't bring us joy. These bring us fear or concern. And therefore we can choose to do something differently with those. And it strikes me, I did my TEDx on this, but the things that we're fearful of, we've imagined, they haven't happened. We have to think about them. We have to imagine what that's going to look like. The same is true for things that we're hopeful for. They haven't happened, so we've imagined them. And we've imagined them in exactly the same brain. So neither one is more likely or more credible than the other. And yet we choose to believe the thing we're fearful of is more likely and more credible than the thing we're hopeful for. And I think if we can continue to kind of keep the debate going, to get people to question, is that really true? is it really true that what I'm fearful of is more likely than what I'm hopeful for? Because I've imagined both of them at this moment. And how do we help those people, help people to find their path to belong and yet still be me? I think that's so how do you belong and yet still be whoever you are, so that you don't lose yourself in that desire to belong? Because you're right, we all want to belong, don't we? We all want to feel like we've got a connection somewhere. And I think I'm like you, I'm very excited for the changes that we're going through. And I think you mentioned COVID before, and I think for me, one of the things that it did was make the world a lot smaller, because all of a sudden you connected with more people because we were all in the same space. We all had choice taken away from us. And that was the thing we were all grieving. We no longer had a choice. Because we had to stay in our house. We had to do what they told us to do. We had to go, we had to not break the rules. But I think it also allowed us to realize that actually you can connect with so many more people, and you can find so many more like-minded people that want to go, this isn't about, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This is about looking at it and making conscious choice about what we choose to have in our in the gifts that we give to the next generation. Which one of these are gifts of joy, and which one of these are gifts of fear? In which case, let's not give those ones. Let's leave them where they are, and kind of just take the positives forward. And I think, I love conversations like this one, because I think it is just that. It is about looking at how do we move forward positively, and create a psychologically safe space for people to be who they need to be.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing that we're experiencing right now, when we think about the generations, the youngest generations, they're demanding this. So when we talk about creating a safe space for people to be who they're supposed to be, if they don't feel that, they're going to leave. And they have been leaving. And that's why even yesterday, one person, when I told him I work with cultures and motivating the young generations, and he said, these millennials, these Gen Zers. And he said it in such a negative way. And he's an entrepreneur. So I responded and I said, I love them. I absolutely love them. They're here to challenge the norm, to challenge the way we think, to help us see things in a different way. And that's why when I see a lot of organizations resisting the millennials, not creating a healthy work culture for them, and then Gen Z, and they're blaming them, and they're saying, they're lazy, they're entitled, they are all of these bad things. To me, all it's an indication about is that the culture is not a healthy culture, that the leaders are not open to change. They want things their way, and any other way is a wrong way. So I believe the young generations are demanding for us to create a safe space where they belong, and they continue to feel that they don't have to lose their identity, and they don't have to be perfect and come to work with this heavy, horrible jacket or the perfect face. So I love it.
I love that. It so resonates, and the bit always makes me smile when I have lots of those conversations, and then I'll be like, "Can I just ask, what age are your children?" And they're very often, their children will be millennials or Gen Z or something. And if this were them, what would you want for them? Oh, well, I want them to have a safe space. I want them to be included. I want them to, not lose themselves and fit. Well, that's the generation we brought up. We've brought them up to do this. And then, yes, it does mean you have to put effort in. It does mean you have to make changes. It does mean that you've got to do something differently. Because if we don't do something different, it won't change. So we can't, in every generation, we try and improve on the generation before, because we learn the things we like and we learn the things that we didn't like. And we try not to repeat those for our own children, don't we? Dima, I could literally chat to you all day. I can't believe we've run out of time.
Oh my goodness, it went by so fast.
How's that, 40 minutes? It has been such a delight, but could you just share with the audience how they can get in touch with you and who you help?
Thank you. So they can reach me by going to dimaghawi.com. So it's my name, dimaghawi.com. And it has information about my workshops, my keynotes, my coaching. So you would be able to access this information. I work with organizations to help them create a safe and healthy work culture. And I absolutely love empowering leaders to be better leaders and to help them with their self-discovery, challenging the norm, discovering what is stopping them to be effective, and help them to continue to rise. And in the meantime, they're allowing their teams to rise as well. So if you're in leadership or if you want to develop your leaders, I would love to talk with you.
Dima, thank you so very much for joining us and for continuing what has been another fascinating conversation. And I'm so looking forward to our next one, which I know is tomorrow. But until then, and for everybody listening and watching, I hope you have found today to be as inspiring and insightful as I have. And until next time, take care.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Steve Klein Art at steveklein.art.
My name is Steve Klein, born Manchester, England, 1953. My quest in my lifetime is to create artwork from my soul and the deepness within my wildest dreams and fantasies. In 2012, my heart stopped when I was given too much anesthetic for a minor knee operation, and this near-death experience took me to another multidimensional world, an out-of-body experience, and I was given the gift of being blessed by an overwhelming, burning passion to become, for the very first time in my life, an artist with an eternal, passionate desire to bring my art, which I've named multidimensional, subliminal, freeform art, to the world, as only 3% recover from what I experienced, and now in my golden years want to release my cosmic, vital energy through my art to allow people to be a part of my cosmic dance.
To learn more, email roccogoodwine@gmail.com. For VIP pricing, mention USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting. We're building bridges and changing lives, one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbick. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.